I should like to read to you now a little extract from my book of non-poems, The Breakfast Age. Chapter 81, Loft Pepper. I found myself in an unfamiliar hotel on the night of All Hallows Eve in Cincinnati, ironing clothing using the wall-mounted apparatus so kindly provided by the establishment which housed me that night. This was a rare treat, as most hotels of this caliber provide usually at best a diminutive biscuit or a meager slice of cleaning soap. I had brought with me in a knapsack 3 choices of wear: a turtle green afternoon suit, a salmon grey 3-piece, and a monastic robe complete with cowl and beads. No prize for guessing which guise I was pressing as revelers clattered and lauded their way along the streets below. A ghostly smell of coffee beans, once there, now not, permeated the air in the stuffy oblong room. I ceased my ironing, satisfied with the flatness of the garment, and pulled it over my head, its lower hem just hitting the floor with a satisfying. With the key around my neck as a copper accoutrement, I closed the door behind me and swept down the corridor, the ghost beans haunting my nostrils. The hotel receptionist looked at me as though she were booking a complicated holiday to Italy's Puglia region. I passed through, monkish and unflustered. Outside, passers-by were passing by a street vagrant, tattered and forlorn, their legs propelling them forward with forthright velocity, eyes fixed frontward as though horses in a derby, and as if to suggest their high-speed transience would make the retrieval of change from their pockets an impossible task. Some even motioned to the vagrant to suggest so, tilting their head to one side as they did, as if this would gain them more sympathy from the destitute individual at ground level. I had no coins myself, my robe as pocketless as a lake. Only notes strapped to my leg with twine. I offered him a dance. He refused. I met my friend Godey at the Happy Anus, a bar he had managed for the previous 7 months. While not a practicing homosexual himself, Godey had tried sodomy a surprising 36 times before deciding it was not for him. I had not seen him since college. His appearance had not dampened over time. 2 decades ago, we had played in a folk band together, him on flute, me not. The band went through several names in its time: Solstice, the Water Sharks, Bad Lambing, We're Indoors. By the time I left, they had taken on their 7th and final incarnation as Egyptian Teeth. Godey remained in the band until they split 3 months later after a controversial gig where they used a keyboard. They used the keyboard to beat up an audience member who had grown troublesome. The resultant legal action curtailing their musical ambitions for good. The keyboardist became a full-time thug, which earned him more than music ever had. In this part of town it was tradition to go out and cause mischief on this night of spirits, a tradition made all the more dangerous by there being a zoo in that district. The local poetical society would often make the following day's news with their unique rhyming mischief, pinning a note on a goat, placing a hat on a bat, tying a ribbon on a gibbon, etc., etc. One year, a visiting psychopath disemboweled an owl, an atrocity naturally leveled at the poetical society, but later disproved in court. Coincidentally, on the same night in that courtroom, they had successfully charged a parson with arson. Traversing from bar to bar, We eventually found ourselves in a tavern called the Definite Article, or The for short. They served a peculiar ale brewed once a year only, with Chinook hops, gooseberries, and cider, and with each barrel cursed by a locale witch. Needless to say, before long, Godey and I were approaching the festival spirit with all the fervour of an ant late for work, at some point inventing the game tick or teat. We approached strangers and offered them the choice. Either they offered us their teat, or we drew a tick on their forehead. We were ejected from every bar in town before finding ourselves on a park bench in the rain at an undiagnosed hour, somehow in possession of a bag of narcotics and a foghorn. Dawn clutched its way over the hills, its potent breath covering the city. Time eroded. At one point, I blinked, and Godey was gone. Had he even been there at all? Yes. He was urinating in a hedge just to my left. He told me my blink had lasted 23 minutes. I have not seen Godey since this night. I am told he changed his telephone for a walkie-talkie, only wishing to converse with those within 5 miles of him. Often I dream of his face, then awake to find I have drawn it, although I have no idea where I have obtained the pencil and paper.